All right, today we're going to be looking at the axis of symmetry and the vertex. The axis of symmetry is a line that passes through the vertex of a quadratic function. Again, for everything that we do, and for functions, really for it to be a quadratic function, it has to have a vertical axis of symmetry. So if I were to draw a quadratic, the axis of symmetry would be an invisible dotted line that would split that graph exactly in half and go through the vertex. And it doesn't matter if our graph is right side up or if that quadratic happened to graph upside down, it still has an axis of symmetry that's a vertical line that goes through its vertex. In order for us to find the axis of symmetry, we're going to be looking, without graphing it, we would look at the quadratic equation that we're given. Again, it's important that we get our quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. In order for us to do it correctly, we would need to move everything over to one side if it happened to be on the other side of an equal sign, or we need to make sure that all of our terms are combined, that we have only one x squared term, one x term, and one constant. And then what we need to do is identify those numbers as A, B, and C, and our focus is going to be on A and on B. And in order to find the axis of symmetry, we're going to take the opposite of B and divide it by 2 times A. So if we have an example of x squared plus 6x, minus 16, then we would change that x squared and we would add the 1 in front so we could get it. And then the opposite of B, well, the B number in this case is 6, and so the opposite of that would be negative 6. And then our A number is 1, so we would go 2 times 1. That becomes a negative 6 divided by 2, and as we all know, a negative 6 divided by 2 is a negative 3. So our x coordinate of our vertex is negative 3, and that's also the equation for our axis of symmetry. All right, now what we would do after that is we would take that negative 3 and we would replace the x values because x is negative 3. So we would take that x squared plus 6x minus 16 and we would replace the x's with a negative 3. Now you can go to desmos.com/scientific if you need help or if you're not confident in your ability to do it by hand. So desmos.com/scientific, and then you can punch in everything after the equal sign. Negative 3 squared is a negative 3 times a negative 3. Again, if you notice, I put it in parentheses. That makes 9. Plus 6 times a negative 3 is a negative 18, and then minus 16. So the y value would be the combination of negative 18, negative 16, and a positive 9, which gives us the answer of negative 25. So my vertex would be at negative 3, comma, negative 25. And again, you can do that with any quadratic as long as it's in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. If there is no b, then it would be 0. And again, if there was no a, we'd have to have an a value because we couldn't have a missing x squared. But if b is 0, then your axis of symmetry would be the same as the y-intercept. And then to find your vertex, you would plug 0 in for x to find it. So again, that's the process. Opposite of b divided by 2a gives me the axis of symmetry. I take that answer and plug it in for x. And the solution I get is my y value, and then together they become the vertex. If you have any questions, please let your teacher know.